Hi friends, today in this studio vlog, I wanted to show you this painting I did outside and give you tips on how you can also paint outside. Painting outside is a glorious experience. If you've never done it, it's a beauty to unveil, it's something to try. Of course, today I'll be doing some instructions with this painting, but overall, I really want to convey to you how you can do something like this if you want to paint in nature. It's not complicated. It doesn't have to be really difficult, and it might feel like that, but if you have a kit and you're prepared, it's going to go a lot easier than you expected. And believe me, a little bit of preparation really is worth it for the amount of happiness that I find painting in nature. So why do I need to paint in nature? What is the whole purpose of that? What is the beauty that can be grasped here? As I'm painting right now, I'm just using really light mixes of my paint to create that basic wash with the sky, with the mountains, with the ground. And of course, we'll go and add some darker details as we move forward with this painting. Now, when I first had some friends who were painting in plein air or outdoor painting, I was kind of confused. Why did you need to expose yourself to the elements and be in that situation where there's bugs and there's weather happening and there's rain sometimes snow, depending on where you live. And it wasn't until I tried it out a few times that I understood why they were so obsessed with it. Now here I'm not painting anything that is in front of me. I was in my backyard, and this is not the scenery that I see, or just backs of houses. But just being outside sometimes can be enough inspiration to sort of paint from my own mind's eye. I wasn't following a reference photo here. I just was kind of thinking about the basic shapes I wanted to lay down. I'm spreading out some of that blue sky just to make it a little bit lighter, have some softer edges. I'm also using a very large flat brush here for the size of the paper. And the reason with that is so that I can paint loosely and quickly. If I use a very small brush, I'm tempted to be very detailed and I can get in my own way. All right, I've switched to a smaller flat brush, and I'm just putting in these quick brush strokes here, a little bit of wonky branches and the trunks of these trees, and not worrying too much about the shape of that. We're gonna do a few more layers here. And the next step will be taking some of our dark green color and starting to add in some lines here, and we'll blend it out with some water once we're done adding those shapes. And then we'll go over that again later on with some more details, so stay tuned for that piece. So anyway, painting outside, when I did that, it really created this experience to be mindful. And as a therapist, I like to talk about being mindful. It's being present, being able to capture and focus on and hone in on the things that you can see, hear, smell, taste, and touch. 5 senses. If those apply, sometimes you can't do all the things in the same situation, but you're hearing the birds chirping and you're seeing bunnies bouncing by. You're hearing the wind and feeling the wind on your face. You're feeling the warmth of the sun or the cool of the breeze. Sometimes if you have a drink with you, you can smell that. You have your coffee or your tea. It's a very mindful experience, and I feel like it boosts my creativity. And if you're trying to paint the elements that you're seeing in front of you, that's another challenge that gets your brain into a different space. Things change, light changes, the weather changes quickly, and it encourages you to paint quickly as well. But I think for me, the biggest thing is that being outside fills my soul. And having that experience of the sunshine and the fresh air and all the health that it brings to us is just a memorable experience. So you might ask yourself, well, how do I paint outside? Well, I'm going to tell you that in just a second, but if you are enjoying this video, please give it a like, feel free to subscribe to my channel, and then also hit that notification bell so you won't miss out on my future videos. And I do teach watercolor on Patreon, so check out the link for that if you'd like to see more exclusive tutorials on flowers and landscapes, or join my live stream or my watercolor workshop on mental health. I have a lot of bonus content over there, so definitely check that out in the link if you're interested. So right now I'm adding in some shadows underneath those trees and then just around the ground and the hilly areas. And right now I will wait for that layer to dry with the trees, and then we'll add in some more details as we go. So I will link above here a paint on the go kit, a video that I did on that, of the items that I like to pack and keep in a bag with me at my office desk or in my car. It's a small bag of things, really small versions of the items I would paint with outside. And that gives me an ability to paint wherever I'm at, whether it's if I'm working or if I'm at a meeting, or I stop in a park and say, hey, let's just paint for a few minutes. Going on a hike, sitting down and just enjoying that experience is really memorable. It's meaningful. It's such a wholesome thing to try. I encourage everyone to try. So you can have a jar of water on hand, and you can even put your dirty water back in the jar when you're done so you don't get that toxic paint into the environment, all the things. I'm just mixing up right here some brown with some red in it, and we'll use that to go over some of our landscape in the ground just to give it a little bit of pop of color. So yes, you need your water and a little palette like what I have here. I usually have a tiny brush that sits in the middle. So I've got my palette, my water, my brush, then a little sketchbook like what I have here is wonderful. And I put that all in a bag with a paper towel, even my sketching pencil and eraser if I'm going to do some sketching. And then finally, if you want a little desk, lap desk, kind of like what I have here, you can get those on Amazon. Probably 20 bucks or so. It gives you a steady surface to keep all your things. So right now I'm going back over with that smaller flat wash brush, and I'm just adding in more details of the tree trunk and branches because I want those to stand out. The ones below, or the first layer we did has kind of eased into the paper and it's lighter with all the water. Now this is more of a saturated paint. Sometimes I just dip directly into the well of my palette, and that works quite nicely. You can do what works for you. Less water, more concentrated paint, you're gonna have a concentrated color. So I did dip into this green, really dark saturated green. I'm just making these little wonky brush strokes that we're going to add a little bit of water to actually diffuse them and make them more soft, and even blend some of that color together. So just kind of blotting it on your paper. You know, with this, I was really trying to be mindful to not overthink, if that makes sense. And I'm going to leave some of these brush strokes here as well. I like the angular structure. Adding in, I dipped right into my lemon yellow with a green brush. So I've got a nice light green. So we're gonna have a contrast between this medium green color, the really light green underneath, and then the darker green on top for the shadowed sides. This is gonna make it come alive, make it pop. You've got that dimension going, but also keeping a lot of those brush strokes so that you have this really beautiful, what I think is beautiful, painterly look. And if you don't like the brush strokes, you can always blend them out. Another thing to do when considering painting outside is actually making time for it. I have a friend on Instagram who is really being mindful this year of painting outside, and I think it was once a week, which is a really, really good goal to make. It's not overwhelming. It's, 52 times a year, and I think she's painting outside more than that. Could be true. She's working on other things that she's learning as well. But I think the beauty in that is that you set a small goal and you stick with it. And then you start to look at your progress from start to finish to see how much you've improved and how your paintings have come alive and changed over time. So make time to paint outside. Even just sit down in your yard if you have one, or go to the park and just breathe in that fresh air. Enjoy the beautiful wind on your face and experience the joy that comes from sitting down and painting in the beautiful landscape.